Welcome to week 12 of 2018. And I guess what are we on now? Episode 78 of Warehouse and Operations as a Career. It's amazing how fast this year's moving and shaking and really kind of coming together for us. As you may know, this first quarter I've been very fortunate to have met several new associates, leads, supervisors, a lot of managers, and have had the opportunity to visit facilities in New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Denver, and where else? Oh, Texas, I guess. Texas so far this year. It's really interesting to see the different processes and procedures from place to place. I don't know if any one procedure or process is better than another really, but I do notice they seem to work at their individual buildings. I personally believe any procedure can be improved upon, maybe easing the workload on our employees, streamlining the workflow of paperwork or duplicate reporting, or maybe even efficiencies or expense reduction. If us as employees and managers aren't always on the lookout for a better way or more productivity and a safer way to perform our task, I'd have to question if we're really doing our job right. I've recently been structuring a class and presentation on safety culture, a class I'll be presenting to groups of recently promoted lead men and women and soups and managers, so I reached out to our WAOC safety guy Joe for some guidance with the curriculum. I was sharing a couple of questions sent into WAOC about the best way to roll out new objectives to the floor. A few of them pertain to safety procedures, and Joe suggested maybe we could put together an episode on the topic of a strong safety culture. Joe, I won't ever turn down a visit or an opportunity to learn from an experienced pro. How have you been lately, sir?
Oh, I've been great. It's a pleasure being here, and kind of seems like we head to the same places for different reasons. I'm also proud to say I've received my official WAOC mug now, too, that lives on my very messy but efficient desk.
I'm glad you got you a WAOC mug. We'll, matter of fact, at the end today, I'll mention to everybody where you found that thing. Yeah, I can't believe how the timing worked out on this project. I'm really glad everything came together travel-wise. To catch our listeners up, I was traveling to Arizona last week for a facility visit, and it just so happened Joe was booked by them to give a class and certify several supervisors on CPR and AED use. It was great running into you out there.
That was a great time. I had the class to certify some newly made lead men in CPR and AED use after they had to deploy that stuff in a real-time workplace emergency. Good thing for them, they had prior training in its use and were still able to save a fellow employee. A very good job by those guys and to their company also for, giving a care and getting these guys certified, be it through me in any event for another emergency that might happen.
Oh, wow, that's a great story, man. I'm glad that they were able to handle it, and they'll really appreciate the training that they're going to receive. So, Joe, I hear almost monthly from a director or a VP of ops or, some other member of management, a horror story about rolling out some process or procedure and how badly it went. In my experience, and I'll probably experience one now that I brought it up, but I've just never had a bad rollout, not one that I'd call horrific anyway. I know always being prepared, having a plan, even a plan B has helped, but I do understand how things can kind of get off the rails or go in the wrong direction. I personally think the culture of the shift is what's really going to make the difference. I mean, I find it difficult, if not impossible, to teach something new procedure-wise if the team doesn't understand the what, the why, and the how of the project. In our operations arena, culture may be more of a belief, I guess. I looked up the word culture from my go-to source, merriam-webster.com, and it stated, the set of shared attitudes, values, goals, and practices that characterizes an institution or organization. I'm thinking a better definition for us may be something like, the integrated pattern of human knowledge, belief, and behavior that depends upon the capacity for learning and transmitting knowledge to succeeding generations. I kind of think both of those, aren't they just really saying teamwork, following direction, maybe just doing what's right as a whole? Here's where you get to disagree with me a little bit, Joe.
It actually applies to all, Marty, as long as you can get it to work. I've had some jobs where you'd better not even think of going into, say, a clean room if you missed one of the decontamination steps. Now, could someone or could I have? Of course. But the expectation was so alive in the workplace and in that culture and at the job site, no one would dare do it. It'd be taboo. Uh, it's like doing the right thing when no one is around because you know it's the right thing to do. So whatever steps you take that make your employees care and abide, is a positive one.
Yeah, I guess anything that you really can put together, you see so much of it. You're presenting or teaching safety topics to frontline supervisors and managers each week. Do you feel they're always engaged? I guess there needs to be a culture of learning too.
The biggest training problem that I've had and have seen with the frontline guys are the old heads. The old senior employees, the veteran employees, uh, and by veteran, I mean that have been there for a while, that are used to doing it the old way or the first way. I worked at a plastic manufacturing blown film place, and one of the guys that I was learning from there, that was his first job, and it's 30 years later. So sometimes we find those people are kind of resistant to new methods and learning. But even so, after a few times of doing something more efficiently, the training sticks because you see the value in it.
That's true. And a lot of us older ops guys, when I first was introduced to a piece of powered industrial equipment, the pallet jack and high-rise machine, my training pretty much consisted of, there it is, be careful, don't hit anything. These days, I'm so excited about the training that people receive and the energy that's put into people's training now. Yeah, I really think that we have to look at the training aspect of, as it pertains to cultures also. A listener recently asked, why won't my employees wrap the pallets correctly? How can I get across that it's just a part of our job? It's one of our tasks, and it's not correct or finished until they've done it. This is one of those areas where I'm going to go right back and tag it with that learning or accepting isn't built within the culture at this facility. What do you think?
Marty, cultures are developed by employees and reinforced by us as supervisors, leads, management, the leadership. When everyone is cool with not giving 100% or accepting substandard work or steps taken and procedures, that's what's going to be accepted. Want a good example of how the right leadership and culture and attitude cultivate this? Just take a look at the Army or any of the armed forces. Think they're okay with missing a step or, not giving your all, not caring? Of course not. Because all of them expect more. And let me tell you, from having been there myself, it sure doesn't feel like they have all those millions in government monies, because we sure were, out bivouacking in the woods, et cetera, et cetera. We all certainly expect our employers to care about us. If we become injured on the job, then we should also care about being safe and following the procedures that were put in place to keep us safe.
Okay, and that's a very good point, and I totally agree with you. Next to you, I am Mr. Safety Conscious. But let's look at it from a new order selector or loader's perspective. They have an objective. Maybe even their pay is going to depend on their productivity. That new selector's first instinct, or, the human nature, if you will, is going to be to creep that jack or walk along beside his jack up to 3 bays, to that next pick slot. Of course, he's heard how dangerous that is, maybe even knows of someone that's run over their foot or pinned their ankle between the jack and the bottom bar, but it's done 1,000 times a shift. How do you really instill that culture in a shift so no one even thinks of doing things like that? Oh, here's a quick example that I heard of last week involving a supervisor. A great guy, he's really engaged with his employees, and he's really a rock-solid, safety-conscious man. For a few weeks, he'd been a little short-handed on the production lines. He'd missed one day reporting this and one day reporting that, and wasn't available for the startup meetings a couple of days to practice a safety meeting. And the next thing he knew, when asked about his safety files, he was missing 4 days worth of topics and meetings. As a supervisor, even with the habits developed of, we report things, we document everything, it got away from him. Now, of course, he's got caught up on everything and is now working on, his time management skills a little bit, etc. But how can we ensure that culture is embedded so deeply that when we as management drop the ball, we can rely on a team member to say, hey, we haven't done our meetings yet? I think that's what I'm wanting out of culture. How can I get there? By the way, that's exactly what happened in this instance. An associate said, wait, let's do our startup meeting real quick.
Sometimes, especially when we're up and coming, we need that. We can't see the forest because the trees are in the way, so to speak. So it's important to keep focus. When I was starting out, I was so afraid to miss a beat or detail that I carried a pretty large notebook with me, the multi-section one, at all times. But, just by following the rules because you believe in them, and it's the first and hardest step, to instill in yourself and to make sure you start every procedure and process correctly and safely, people will treat things the way that they see them treated. So set that example and train your people that way and let them know that the culture is being developed, and let them know what that expectation is and what's going to be tolerated and what isn't. Like I said, it's a group thing and attitude that, determines and dictates that culture.
I think you're absolutely right. I see it as the responsibility falls all on training. All of our jobs, every position and task has individual steps to them. If we teach those tasks correctly and not only encourage the safety rules with every step, it'll become a part of that task. I think a lot of team members and managers try and use discipline to instill the culture of safety, but I think it's got to be in the training. There's one of those opinions of mine, I guess. How far off am I?
Well, you're not very far off. One of the things that we realized very early on as young leadership is that discipline is very necessary. However, when you have guys that are new to the warehouse, or new to warehouse work for that matter, or work period, what they first learn about an item or procedure, or a big piece of equipment or a forklift is, what they're going to remember is what they were first and initially taught during that first encounter with whatever that was. So teach them the right way the first time and every time. And, that'll be one of those growing points and things that they'll be able to develop and continue as they progress in their warehouse work career.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. So can we as hiring agents do a better job on the front side even? Well, I know we can do a better job on the front side, I guess. I mean, since we've decided the culture of the team should be instilled with training, we should include that training in our onboarding and orientations, right?
Of course, everything needs to reflect that positive safety culture as if it's already in place and has been in place. That's what keeps it functional. When we talk about a safety culture, it's not something that you can put in your hand or stick in your pocket or display in a trophy case. It's an attitude. It's a group atmosphere. So as long as you believe in it and put it there, it'll exist. I mean, anybody who's ever walked onto a military base of any kind has felt this in the air. And, it's 100% because everyone that's posted there and enlisted or an officer there 100% believes in what they're doing, what they should be doing, and what direction they need to go to. So when we make sure that we're clear in our onboarding process and our orientations, and we communicate all of these messages effectively, it 100% helps develop our culture.
I was just thinking, really another thing or another culture that I think we as management need to really turn around and strengthen is our distractions. I see warehouses that's tried allowing things like earbuds, and one of them even streaming music from their smartphones. I guess it's all right for some production type jobs, but in my experience, an order selector or a fork driver Really, anyone working with equipment or machines should be focused on the job and surroundings instead of, kind of listening to their music. I brought it up or voiced my opinions to a few, and I'm happy to say the rules have been rethought at quite a few facilities. I think their culture just wasn't to bring up a concern or state opinions, maybe. I was reading an article a few weeks ago. I don't really remember where, but I was shocked that it stated that lane changes in our vehicles, I think it was on the highway in moderate traffic, increased our odds of having an accident by 7%. That was 7% each time we changed lanes in traffic. I think our vehicular culture has really changed in the last 10 years. Without a strong safety culture in the warehouse, our driving habits could kind of bleed over into the workplace. With all the driving that I do daily and near misses that I see on the roads every day, I'm glad that's not happening. Oh, and cell phones. I personally don't like seeing cell phones around equipment operators at all. Again, I think the culture regarding our phones is an area we as employees need to keep in mind. Let's check our texts and Facebook feeds at our breaks and our lunches. I'm sure you have an opinion there, Joe.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you have a piece of equipment that is powerful enough to injure you or somebody standing next to you, you need to give it that respect that it's due.
I agree with you 100%, and honestly, across the board, I'm seeing some great employees and new management that are really safety conscious, and even if they aren't aware of it, they're building strong cultures within their shifts and crews. I'm really excited to see all the interest in doing our jobs right and the right way. I think we as an industry are moving in the right direction. Joe, I really enjoyed the discussion today, and I want to thank you for taking the time with us here at WAOC, sir. Now, you know I'm going to bug you again for another visit, right?
Oh, it's not bugging me. It's always a pleasure for me to come on here and have a captive audience to rant to.
How true. I know you enjoy getting us all together. And as always, I want to thank you, our listeners. You're what it's all about, and I appreciate all your emails and suggestions every week. Remember to take a minute and like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And we're having some really good discussions with the Facebook group Warehouse Equipment Operators Community. Please like and share it as well with all your friends. We had a couple of requests for WAOC shirts and mugs, so we opened a storefront at tpublic.com/user/WAOC, and I'll put that URL in today's show notes on our webpage at warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com. That's where Joe got his mug from that he mentioned earlier. I'll tell you what, let's do this. Let's have a drawing for a free WAOC coffee mug in 2 weeks. Just email a thought or opinion on safety culture or safety practice to host@warehouseandoperationsasacareer.com to have your name thrown in the hat for a drawing by next Thursday, and we'll announce the winner the following Thursday. Until next week, let's all work on our shift's culture and help a team member with a safety practice.